Muchos gracias, amigos. We're at the final division in the AFC, the AFC West. The AFC West has been the champions of the AFC the last 3 years because of one team. Can they do it again? And could it be a different team this year? Well, let's find out. The Chargers going in this year have a little more spunk, a little more hoopsie, and a little more hoopla going into last season. Last season was just the first year, beginner's luck with Jim Harbaugh, but this year there's expectations with this team now. You got expectations. They got a new running back in Omarion Hampton. Is marketed as one of the next best running backs in the league, but can he live up to the hype of the other draft selection, Ash Genty, who is also a rookie? We got to find out. But I think Omarion Hampton is the perfect build for a running back, and it is definitely a running back that Jim Harbaugh loves. Those great rough and tough and ground and pound guys that just run right through a wall. I know they grabbed Najee Harris, who's a big back as well, but Omarion Hampton is just the complete package running back that I think Jim Harbaugh is going to fall in love with, and I expect him to be at least a starter by week 2 or 3. Maybe Najee starts 2 weeks, but I think Hampton's going to be there. Issue with the Chargers, though, Rashawn Slater is out for the year. Rashawn Slater is the first or second best lineman they got on their team. Maybe Joel's number 1 if you think so. Sean Slater could be their best. He's out for the entire year. That is an enormous blow. He is the starting left tackle for the Chargers, and of course, left tackles are the most important position on the offensive line. If you don't think so, then you're either uneducated, coping, or a Dolphins fan. One of those 3 right there. That's a huge blow to a team because that O-line might get freaking lit up some games when they're against like the Chiefs, Chris Jones, Karlaftis. Jeez, man, I don't know. Wide receiving core is still in a cause for concern. Quentin Johnston is still there. He actually got lit up during a preseason game. Lyle McConkey is obviously a stud. We all know this and love this guy. He's awesome. He's great. Who doesn't love some Lyle McConkey in their life? I know Chargers fans do. They brought back Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen still has some gas left in the tank for sure, but it's also the worst version of Keenan Allen, and that's not going to fix the wide receiver core. Of course, him and Herbert have a lot of chemistry together, so it'll be somewhat better, but don't expect to see prime Keenan Allen out there. The defense, I'm not a huge fan of. Derwin James is obviously great. Khalil Mack still kicking tail and such, but this defense is not scaring anyone. No one is going against the Chargers defense and is shaking in their boots going up against them. They have some playmakers that could make some great plays, but it's nothing out of the ordinary for like this team. I think they arguably have the worst defense in the division. You could say the Raiders division, probably the Raiders, honestly. He hasn't started yet, but the Broncos and Chiefs just have a better defense than the Chargers. Let's be real here. They're not striking fear at any offense they go on the field, which could be an issue. Also, Herbert, I don't think is going to carry this team if he needs to carry them, because we all know Justin Herbert at this point. He's either very overrated or he's very properly rated, depending on how you see him. I think he's overrated. Some people think he's fine where he is. That's your opinion. That's fine with me. Whatever. Overall, Chargers might be a bit worse this year. Mahomes and Reed are going to cook again with this team. Dice up some onions and saute some vegetables up. What can you say? You can't really doubt Mahomes and Andy Reid at this point. Even if their team is weaker than usual, they're still going to do good. It doesn't mean they're going to be phenomenal like prior years, but you know they're going to do enough to get a playoff spot. An issue with this team is I think the run game is pretty mid. They got no oomph, this team. And there's no scary guys up there that are really going to pound that rock. Kareem Hunt, I mean, like, guys, I know he had a lot of touchdowns last year, but he wasn't very good. Isaiah Pacheco was hurt, and overall, I don't think Isaiah Pacheco is even that great of a running back in general. So he's going to come back when he's healthier, but he's off an injury. I don't know. I don't really see that much improvement with the running game. Their O-line might be a bit worse this year because they lost Joe Thuney. They have a hole on their guard spot in their line. They did pick up Josh Simmons, who apparently is looking really great on the offensive line, because of course he is. So I think it's going to be straight gas for Josh Simmons right there. So at least they got a new young rookie there. Their wide receiver core is obviously looking very weird again because Marquise Brown got hurt. Rashee Rice is back. Probably, I don't know. Mahomes shot a torpedo into his knee last year, and he speeds and flees crime scenes. So the NFL is probably not going to do a damn thing about that. But I will say, I like Xavier Worthy coming into this year. He was talented last year, but he showed a lot of holes, a lot of rookie mistakes with his foot placement on catching the ball. Kind of college guys kind of get used to those 2 feet in bounds, but some guys just forget it and can adjust to it, but I think he will this year and do a lot better. Now, the defense looks stiff. D-line, big, scary dudes on that D-line, man. Chris Jones, Karlaftis is like an underrated player that people forget about, but he's a great player. And the linebacking core is still so good. The linebacking core are covering tight ends like blankets, like Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquil. They're really good. And the secondary is probably their weakest part of their defense, but it is still pretty good. So overall, like, what do you expect the Chiefs to do this year? Suck? Because if you think they're going to suck, you're coping. You're just straight up coper, dude. They're not going to suck. I will say, though, Kelsey's probably in his last year. He definitely showed a lot of slowing down last year. He was still pretty good, but this is the year where it's like, oh, this guy's slowing down. But I will say he was pretty good and Happy Gilmore too. So I'm not as salty as prior years about Travis Kelce. And of course, the team has to top it all off with their good little Christian boy kicker, Harrison Butker, kicking field goals and PATs like he owes them money. So right is. I like where the Raiders are heading this season, but I don't think they're there yet. Their O-line is getting pretty good. It's getting better. Genty's going to be a stud. I'd be actually shocked if he sucks, honestly. Even with the Raiders, I think he'll be an absolute beast. And they upgraded at quarterback with Geno Smith, and it's a step up from AOC and Gardner Minshew. As much as AOC can turn it on in clutch games, Geno Smith is just a better quarterback. Bowers is an absolute tyrant on the field. I expect him to be even better this year than he was last year. Rowe could be on pace for an all-time top 5 greatest tight end ever. With the way he's playing right now, he's an absolute monster. But the offense is where the offense gets kind of lacking is the wide receiver core, all right? So, like, I like Jacoby Myers a lot. I think he's a very, very talented, good wide receiver. And Trey Tucker is a good wide receiver 3-4. But there's no bona fide number 1 on that team. They're not making any defenses nervous with Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker, I'll tell you that. I know they had Devontae Adams last year, but Devontae Adams was not clicking on that offense. If they had, like, a true number 1 receiver, this could be a really good offense. But this is what's holding them back. Not that I think they're going to be bad by any means. I do think their offense is going to be good. But I think this is what's going to truly hold them back in big games, especially if they get into shootouts with teams. The defense lost some pieces in the offseason. They lost Robert Spillane, Trayvon Moehrig, and Christian Wilkins. But they didn't lose Christian Wilkins because of free agency. They lost him because Christian Wilkins probably gave a teammate an oil check in the locker room, and that was not good for management, and they booted him out of there. Pete Carroll's the coach here now, and I think that's a big step up because although Antonio Pierce, he had aura. The aura Antonio Pierce had when he stepped in for Josh McDaniels after he mogged Josh McDaniels in his first year by saying, yo guys, I beat this guy in the Super Bowl, and Mike McDaniels basically the crying soy jack, and Antonio Pierce was Giga Chad. That's basically what happened. He had aura the first year. Second year, not so much aura. A lot of bad decisions on 4th down. Offense was bad. The defense took a step back. He needed to go. Pete Carroll is a legit good head coach, but I think his team is still not good enough in the other 3. And I think that even though he's a good head coach, he's still in the same division as Jim Harbaugh, Andy Reid, Sean Payton. That's an absurdly stacked head coaching gig right there, dude. Like, I think he might be arguably the worst, but even though that is still, like, him being the worst there is still, he'd be the best coach in, like, 2 other divisions right now. That's how good the AFC West coaching is right now. But they're a young team. They're kind of rebuilding, so they're fine, all right? Broncos, they have resurged to the happy chance of people from Colorado. The D-line is super good. Truly unbelievable. And they were, like, good out of nowhere. Nick Bodito was a very good player, but then all of a sudden, Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, Jonah Ellis, pass rush was unreal. And they picked up Dre Greenlaw in free agency, and Mike Singleton's going to be healthy. Oh, along with that secondary with Pat Surtain, emerging CB, Riley Moss, defense is, like, surefire going to be top 10. Surefire could be top 5. But the offense in this team worries me. Now, Bo Nix, I think, is the most prone quarterback coming into this year to have a sophomore slump. Now, I know only 2 quarterbacks really played amazing in that year, but I think Bo Nix has a way bigger chance of being a sophomore slump than Jaden McDaniels, because I thought Jaden McDaniels' plays were coming from a lot of pure talent and skill, but also play calling. But he played good, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it was a good system with Sean Payton, and obviously I'm not saying all of it was. Bo Nix made some truly great plays. He had great big throws, playmaking plays, but I'm just worried about him. Not saying he will, but I'm worried about him. Also, their running game is worrying me as well because RJ Harvey is technically their best option for running back who's never played a game in the NFL, and their wide receiver core is also very worrying. Cortland Sutton is a dog. We love Cortland Sutton around here. He's an absolute dog, right? Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin, they could take a step up. I like them as wide receivers, like 3, 4, maybe a 2, but gotta get some better weapons than those guys, man. Their guys are good for what their roles are, but if they gotta take a step up, I don't think they're gonna do a very good job. But that's just me. Their team's very weird because I can see the Broncos going 7-10, and I can see them also going 12-5. If they did either of those records, I would not be surprised in the least. All right, now it is time to rank each division. In last place, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. It is the obvious choice because it makes the most sense. Although I do think the Raiders could finish third, I think it is a possibility. I think the most likely scenario for this team is they finish fourth with a 6-11 record. In third place, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, this may be a bit of a risky pick on my part, but with the injury to Rashawn Slater and the wide receiver core still not looking that great, and the defensive side losing Joey Bosa, I know Joey Bosa was always hurt, but that's a veteran player in our defense that's gone. I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back, especially because I think the next two teams are just going to be overall better teams. And I have them going 8-9. In second place, I have the Denver Broncos. I know I said they could flip-flop, sophomore slump with Bo Nix. Who knows? But I think this team is good enough to get 11 wins and get a wild card spot just like they did last year. In first place, I have the Kansas City Chiefs because of course I will. I'm not picking this team to lose the division until I actually see it happen with my own eyes. I'm going to have them go 12-5 because I think they're going to take a step back from last year, but I still think this team is still good enough to get 12, 13 wins, win the AFC West, host a playoff game. I don't think they're getting the bye this year, but I think they're going to be hosting a game in January. Maybe 2 or 3 games they host in January. Who knows? But that is my predictions for the AFC West. That is the completion of the AFC West. In a few days, I'll be doing the NFC North to start off the NFC. Thank you for watching, everybody. Please enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.